Alex Pereira is going to take some time off from UFC. Okay, Alex P is going to take some time off from UFC. This is Alex Pereira. His win over Kill Rai at UFC 307 almost certainly made him a top contender for Fighter of the Year. It was Petan's third win in 2024. And it was also the fourth time he's fought in the last year. His first fight was against Prasa in November 2023, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that he wants to take some time off. Talking to the media after UFC 307, the light heavyweight champion said, "I love to fight, but I need a break. I want to push myself as much as I can, but I do need a break. I have commitments in Mexico, Korea, and Malta. I'm going to go hang out with Jorge Marin in Bali, my manager. And we're going to take Ed Suarez. I need to take some time off, but I'm going to be training. Pota deserves a break because he's been so busy." But the star also said after the card that his camp was plagued by visa problems and then illness. "I was on antibiotics, I had a fever, I had a bad throat, and a lot of other things happened while I was in Brazil," he said. "I hurt my rib again after hurting it about a year ago." So that was another thing I was dealing with when I came here. My throat was still bad, so I went to the doctor and got more antibiotics. At the time, I even made a video where I said I would show it if I won, so we can release that at some point. I went through a lot. There were a lot of things I had to go through in this camp. It was a tough fight, but it was also a tough build-up to the fight, and I'm really proud of myself right now. Based on all of this, it sounds like P won't be fighting again for a while. When he is ready, who will he fight? Well, most people agree that if Nurmagomedov beats Alexander Rakic later this month at UFC 38, it will be the Dagestani smashing machine. Arno was clearly watching P on Saturday because after one observer said that there's no way the contender will stand with Poan, he responded, "It's not going to happen." I replied, "I will strike. Do you believe that Cliff will do that?" Technically, he might strike at some points in the fight, but it would be surprising if he didn't try to take the fear. Hit it down to the round, Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria P gets in touch with Islam Makhachev again. Makhachev is called out again, and Ilia Topuria has to get past Max Holloway, who is one of the toughest outs in featherweight history later this month. But the vocal champion keeps talking about fighting lightweights. King Islam Makhachev is set to meet the legendary Holloway next week at. The fight will be just as first since he beat Alexander Volkanovski to win the featherweight title at UFC 308, which takes place on October 26th in Abu Dhabi. To give you an example, Topuria recently talked about fighting Makhachev, the Georgian, in a social media chat. When asked again about fighting Makhachev, the Spanish star made it clear that he still has Makhachev in his sights, saying, "Of course, I think I can beat Islam Makhachev real soon. Hope Makhachev will be next after this fight on paper. Of course, it will be fascinating to see." When Ilia Topuria made recent claims, Islam Makhachev responded by saying, "If Topuria continues in the same spirit, he may play himself out. Something may happen. So far, I have not seen anyone cross any personal boundaries. So far, nothing like that has happened. He needs to focus on his weight class and defending his belt at least once, but as noted, given the Holloway fight, it would be Topuria's first title defense. It would be pretty surprising if the UFC looked to book that matchup next. This is all assuming that Topuria beats Holloway and Makhachev beats Harman Kukan. Most people think that fight is next for the lightweight title, but what do you think Makhachev is this? Topuria in the first half of 25, Romeo talks about the UFC. Roman Dolidze and Kevin Holland talk about UFC changes. A fight with Kevin Holland that led to their fight at UFC 307. Kevin Holland and Roman Dodd didn't seem to have a serious grudge before or during their fight on Saturday. If you watched the middleweight fight, you know that it was clear Holland had hurt his ribs early on. Dodd won the first round with ground and pound, and before the second round started, Holland's corner called off the fight. Dodd later talked to Aaron Broner from ESPN about the reports of an altercation. The strong Georgian fighter Holland confirmed backstage that there had been an incident. "I think it's just MMA drama," Holland said. He was also very nice this fight week. He was probably a little angry after losing, and he started a conversation, Holland added. I hope when everything settles down with this, we can talk and understand what exactly won. It will be interesting to see if Holland or anyone from his camp gives their side of what happened and why. Because Holland was hurt, you have to wonder if that. There may have been some kind of argument about Holland's injury and how it affected the outcome of the fight. Putting that aside, hopefully he won't be out for too long. You also have to wonder if what happened at UFC 307 ends his chances of competing at middleweight or welterweight in the UFC. News on the fight. Let's look at a couple of new fights that the UFC is said to be planning. Damon Martin, who writes about MMA fights, recently said that UFC 309 will have the Ironman in action. Jim Miller, a tough veteran who has fought in a record 40 UFC fights, will fight Damon Jackson. Jackson has mostly fought at featherweight, but the fight will be contested at lightweight. Miller will be looking to get back on track after losing by decision to Bobby Green at UFC 300 April. The New Jersey fighter has gone 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Jackson, on the other hand, lost by decision to Chip and Mariscal in April. The Oklahoma fighter has lost 2 of his last 5 fights. So both of them will be looking to get back to winning ways. Miller, on the other hand, will be hoping to get the New York crowd excited for his team. It was recently revealed that Deion Blackshear and Cody Stone will fight in a bantamweight match at UFC Vegas 100 on November 9th. Blackshear will be looking to end a 2-fight losing streak after losing to Montel Jackson and Mario Batista. Stamen has lost 2 straight fights to Douglas Silva, DeAndrade, and Taylor Lapalus. The North Carolina fighter is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. The Michigan fighter is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. The loser of this fight might get let go by the UFC, especially Black, who's 2-3-1 in Octagon 2 dates. Stamen, on the other hand, might have more time before he gets let go. The veteran fighter has been on the UFC roster since 2017 and has suffered 6 losses in that time. 2 of them were against Aljamain Sterling and Morab Diaz. There is no shame in the fact that Conor McGregor is being investigated for trespassing on the field at an Arsenal game in the Emirates Stadium. Arsenal promised not to let this happen again after Conor McGregor was seen playing fight with Bukayoka, who told him to be careful after Conor accidentally kneed him in the arm, which led to an internal club investigation.